Hello, everyone, and welcome to Breakthroughs with Bree. On this podcast, we are discussing all of the topics that help us have breakthroughs on our personal and spiritual development journeys. My name is Bree, otherwise known as Healing with Bree, and I'm a channeler, energy healer, tarot reader, astrologer, and soul alignment coach. My mission in my work and in this podcast is to help teach people how to shift their consciousness, how to heal, and how to release beliefs and patterns and fears of their ego mind so that they can step into alignment with their soul to live lives of abundance, purpose, and bliss. In these episodes, I will be sharing either through my own lens and my own channel or through the experiences of my guest, wisdom and expertise about healing, spirituality, psychology, personal growth, holistic wellness, mysticism, consciousness, and so much more. My hope is that these conversations help you feel seen and provide support and inspiration for you with your own personal breakthroughs. I hope you enjoy this episode. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Breakthroughs with Bree. Today, we have one of my favorite episodes, which is the monthly forecast episode for the month of June. I'm so excited. I love doing these episodes. If you've never joined me before, I use a lot of the modalities that I'm trained in to tap into the energy that this month has to offer and all of the messages that the guides have for us about how we can navigate this energy to make the most out of it, to not make it unnecessarily difficult if it's already a little bit rocky, how to apply really good energy in places where we basically can just get the most out of it. And it's really fun to do. I do that by doing a tarot spread. So with the tarot cards, getting channeled messages on that through numerology for the month, also some channeled messages on that, and then the prominent astrology for the month. So with all of these things, we look at the month from different perspectives, gives you lots of things to ponder and to think about so that you can go into this month and just have the best experience with it that you can. That you can get the most growth out of it that you can, the most joy, the most progress, like whatever that is to you. I'm offering you this information and this insight to the energy of it so that you can just feel as grounded and prepared and empowered as possible. Okay, so for the tarot spread, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you what the question was for the card and then tell you the card and just go through all the ones that I have, and then I'll go back around and explain them one by one. Okay. And if you've listened to these episodes before, it's the same questions I ask every month. But if you do want me to ask different questions to the cards, tap into something a little different, we can play around with some new stuff. So let me know. So the first card in the spread was, what is the main energetic theme of this month? And we have Major Arcana 4, the Emperor. Then we have one area of growth and breakthroughs that I pulled cards on. What is the area that we have the opportunity to have breakthroughs? And that is represented by the Two of Swords. Then I pulled a card about what energy do we need to release in regards to this area of breakthrough, and that is the Four of Swords. Then what energy do we need to embody? And that's the Page of Wands. And what is the potential outcome of this area of growth? And that is Major Arcana 13, the Death card. And finally, what is the message and energy to take into the month of June? And that is the Seven of Pentacles. Let's talk more about it. Okay, the main energetic theme for the month of June is Major Arcana 4, the Emperor. This is very interesting that this is the card that we got. And there's a lot of fours and things that are going on in this spread. In the month of May, if you've not listened to the energy forecast for May, that's okay. I'll give you just a little recap of what you need to know. There's a lot of 4 energy. From a numerology perspective, it was a 4-month. There was a lot of earth sign and practical kind of energy. There was a lot about building foundations and structures that can support us, which is all 4 type of energy. And it feels like that was a lot of the lesson, and that was a lot of what we were learning and anchoring into in the month of May. Well, now we're coming into the month of June. The main energetic theme of the month is Major Arcana 4, which is the Emperor, which absolutely shares a lot of themes with everything that I just discussed. The way that I would interpret this is it feels like we're taking the lessons that we learned in May and we're embodying that energy as we're moving into new experiences. The Emperor is a lot about our divine masculine energy, our ability to be a caregiver of ourselves in a responsible and dependable kind of way. And this is interesting too. This really ties in with some of the astrology of the month too. So stay tuned for that because it feels like it's all coming together. There's a little bit of Capricorn energy in this Emperor. There's a little bit of that Saturnian energy in a really good way. Our ability to rely, let's think of it as like another person. Our ability to rely on another person by and large has to do with their ability to be consistent, right? Can we really trust that what they're doing, they're going to continue to do? Is there a certain amount of like sustainability in what they're doing? Is there commitment to what they're doing so that we can rely that they're going to show up in the way that we expect or the way that we need them to, right? This Emperor energy is about doing that for yourself. Like, do you have the kind of routines and again, structures and discipline in your life to have that kind of support, that consistent and reliable support that you need? Yes, you can get that with and from other people, but we also have to learn how to provide that to ourselves when it's most appropriate. So you're coming in with that kind of like Big Daddy Saturn, like, I am like the CEO of my life. I'm the boss babe in charge of my life. Like, you have a little bit of that like boss and authoritative in a good way energy that helps you feel like you really know how to influence things and you really know like hold space for it. That's a really cool thing about the Capricorn archetype is it's the imagery that they have for Capricorn and Cancer. And I talk about this all the time is that Capricorn is the cup that holds the water that is Cancer, right? It's the container that is stable and steady enough to actually receive and hold whatever you want within it, right? Like in May, it seems like we were attending to and building up and learning about those foundations. And in June, we're letting ourselves really embody it and come into it with that level of confidence because we know we got the container. We know we got the routine. We know that we have the dependability and the discipline to be able to bring more things into our life. Because really, when we bring more things in, there's also more responsibility, right? We're trying to manifest some cool stuff. Like we feel responsible enough of ourselves to like take on and to pursue our dreams or what feels like our most authentic self. That definitely feels like the energy of this Emperor card, especially in connection with what we talked about last month and some of the things that we're going to talk about with some of the other modalities that we'll discuss for June. Hi, everyone. I'm interrupting this episode for a very important announcement, which is my newest one-to-one coaching program, Soul Powered, is now open for enrollment. Soul Powered is a coaching program with 4 months of intensive one-to-one healing work, but a lifetime of impact. If you have been looking to do one-to-one healing work with me, or if you've been coming to understand and learn and know that your reality is created by your inner worlds, and you are ready to change the trajectory of your whole life by committing to changing that inner landscape, doing healing, and calibrating it towards the dreams that you want for your life, then I invite you to check out my website, healingwithbree.net/soulpower, to read more about this program. In this work together, you will have the opportunity to do a deep dive into your feelings, your beliefs, any past experiences that feel like they're still affecting you negatively in some sort of way. We'll also be working together to identify any limiting beliefs that are creating resistance to your dream life. I'll be showing and teaching you how to be able to get to the root of what your fears and triggers are revealing to you about where you have limiting beliefs, about what you're capable of, what's possible for you, what's safe for you, etc., and how to shift those beliefs to be in line with your true essence, your source energy, and the truth of you so that you can be open and receptive and magnetic to the dream life that is literally waiting to materialize for you. And all the while recalibrating that inner world so that the way that you relate to yourself, your feelings, your experiences can change and come into alignment with your goals and the things that you want to experience. One of the unique things about this program is that I use my energy healing and channeling gifts in the sessions. So over the 4 months that we work together, we do 90-minute virtual sessions every other week. And in those sessions, I'm plugged into your spirit teams and guides to get their perspective and their suggestions on your healing and transformation work, which in my opinion is one of the reasons why my clients have seen such complete and huge transformations in the short time that we work together. Another thing I'm really excited to offer in this program is digital modules that help teach you new concepts, new strategies, and give you new tools to enhance the work that we're doing in our session together. And again, are tools that you can utilize for the rest of your life. Some of the results that I've seen in the clients that I've worked with is having major career and job changes and opportunities come up. I've seen their families grow and health issues subside. I've seen huge changes in relationships, changes in patterns that they were engaged in, didn't understand why this kept coming up, their own part in it. We're able to see that and resolve it. We're able to completely transform relationships for the positive, and we're able to manifest new, authentic relationships. Their ability to understand their fears and their triggers and their blocks more deeply and be able to shift and move through them is going to change their life forever. If these are that kinds of outcomes that would be really meaningful to you, if you've aligned with the kind of work that I do and you're interested in learning more about the program, please check out my website, which has much more details and many more testimonials about what this program can offer you. And let me know if you have any questions. Back to the episode. Now, the area of breakthrough is this Two of Swords. This Two of Swords has come up many times this year so far, and that's totally fine. Love it. This card, to me, is when we are in indecisive energy, when we are really stuck in our head, especially if like we're of two minds about something, and it's hard for us to find clarity in how we want to move forward, especially when we're staying in that like thinking and that mental energy about it, instead of also incorporating how do we feel about it? Like, where's the somatic kind of instinct in our body? Like, spiritually, what are we feeling most inspired or aligned to, right? Like, when we are in this indecisive energy, we tend not to be including all of those other things because we're staying in this kind of like this anxious energy about things a lot of times, right? So if there has been a level of indecision, maybe it's about a certain type of choice, or maybe it's just across your life, like trying to feel like you know what's good for you, right? And which kind of comes back into that energy of the emperor. Like, the emperor like knows his business, he knows what's good for him, and he knows how to make it happen, you know? If you've been feeling like there's a part of you that struggles to do that, this is a month that's going to help you have like a new evolution with that energy, a new healing, a new breakthrough as it relates to that energy. And this is how you're going to do it. You're going to release the Four of Swords. Interesting that they're both swords cards. The swords has to do with the mind, our mental field, our beliefs, how we logic, how we perceive things, how we process information. So both of these are talking about you being in your own head a little bit. What's interesting about the Four of Swords being the area that we're releasing is usually this card has really positive or nice attributions. It has to do with a certain amount of rest and recovery and contemplation and finding sort of that like mental silence and reprieve and sort of like a soul nourishment kind of time period. Okay. For this to be in the spot of what we're releasing, it feels like if you have been in a period where you've intentionally maybe retreated a little bit, or just been a little bit more reflective or introspective, trying to create that sense of internal peace and inner restoration, and maybe just kind of taking a step back a little bit, it feels like you're going to be pulled out of that season. You're going to be invited to step out of it. It feels like you've learned what you've needed to from that season up until now, and it's time to step into the Page of Wands, which is a very different energy. The wands are all about action and passion and excitement and adventure and vibrancy, right? It's fire sign associated, right? So you're stepping out of this period of almost like serenity to like start to put things into action and start to like light a fire under you a little bit. Okay. Don't worry. This is all serving your highest and best good, but it definitely feels like the cards and the guides through the cards just want you to know that there is going to be a transition from a season where, again, you felt maybe a little bit more of that calm and rested and maybe even just quiet energy, which has such an important purpose in like the cycle of life and creation. You're moving out of that stage into one of a little bit more action with this Page of Wands, which is the card of what we need to embody as it relates to this area of growth. With this card, you're being asked to be a little bit fearless, to be brave, to let the things that excite you and that you're passionate about, which again is the journey of the fire sign and the wands cards. You're being asked to like let that lead you into new places. Let yourself try new things. The page is the start of the court cards. It's the initiation. Literally letting yourself be a novice at something, like letting yourself try something new is what all of the page cards have in common for all of the suits. And for the wands card specifically, like let yourself be a novice and have new experiences, have new adventures. Try new things that excite you, which, gosh, has so much to do with the numerology of the month. Gosh, I love it when there's synchronicities of these messages. But like, let yourself try new things. Let yourself put into action the things that are exciting to you and put yourself out there a little. Okay? When you do that, when you let yourself move out of that Four of Swords energy into this Page of Wands energy, the potential is Major Arcana 13, the Death card, which is such a good and fortunate card. Do not be scared of the Death card. The Death card is our friend. And let me tell you why. The Death card signals when we're finishing a cycle and we're making space for new. Really, all this card symbolizes is that there's some sort of ending where we don't know exactly what's coming on the other side, right? There's an element of surrender that we have to allow something to close, to finish, to wrap up, and for that to sort of dissolve and integrate as we step into something new, right? That's what this Death card represents, is that point in, again, the creation cycle. Something's done. That's great. It's a wonderful thing. Allow that to happen and trust that what's coming next is for your highest good. Like, new things cannot come in without this metaphorical death energy. Okay. So whatever it is that you're really trying to create, that you're manifesting, that you're really growing on, like, you are wrapping something up. The universe is helping something move out of your space, out of your life, to create space for the new thing. Okay. That's another element that is really interesting to learn and think about when it comes to, you could say, manifestation, and really that can mean a lot of things. But when you want new things, there has to be space for them to come in. And there also has to be a container that can hold them. Coming back to this Emperor card, this kind of divine masculine. Okay. It's really interesting. We have both of these. And again, you'll hear more about this in the energy of the numerology and the astrology. It feels like we've been preparing ourselves to be able to hold the wishes and dreams that we desire. Like, it's all fun and games to like want to have them and want to experience them. But like, if our nervous system doesn't know how to feel safe in them, like, we will never experience them. If we don't have systems and support in our life to be able to manage whatever responsibilities come along with those things that we want, like, we're never going to be able to maintain them or keep them, right? Like, it feels like there's been a lot of preparation for us to even be able to receive the things that we want. And we have to trust that process. All right. We got to trust and build up our own sense of inner authority and inner mastery and that divine masculine to support us. And in June specifically, let yourself have a little mini metaphorical death to make space for new things. Surrender to what feels like is coming to a close. Allow yourself to be in your feels, because there's new and good things coming on the other side of death. Always, 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 always on the other side of this death. Okay. This feels emphasized and supported, endorsed by our final card of the spread for the month of June, which is the final message and energy to take into the month, which is the Seven of Pentacles. And again, if you listen to last month's energy forecast, this card made an appearance in the what to release spot, which is kind of funny because one month we're releasing it, another month we're taking it in, but that's okay because they're in different contexts and we can both put down and pick up energy at any time. That's one of the really brilliant things about us being so multidimensional, you know? So in this spot for the month, especially in the context of all the other cards, what this means to me is keep going. Don't give up. Have perseverance, have patience. Like, you've already invested time and energy. So keep going. Don't give up now. You are going to bear the fruits of your labor. Like, what you want is going to come through. It's going to come. But this is the time where you just got to trust the process a little bit and keep going. You're like part way through the manifestation of it. And you have to allow this chapter to happen while you stay dedicated, while you stay disciplined, in order for the fruits of the labor to really bloom for you. Again, staying diligent and dedicated, that Emperor energy, maybe even surrendering to a little bit of a death card stuff. And then you're going to come to the end of the cycle where you see the manifestation of what you desire and what you're trying to bring through. Like, you are going to see the return on investment. You will. You will, you will. And if you needed a sign about that, if you needed encouragement about that, let this Seven of Pentacles tell you, keep going. Don't give up. Don't give up. Okay. Have that sort of patient and that long-term vision mindset. If things feel a little rocky, know it only lasts for a minute. Be in it. Take all the things that you can from it that it's offering you. Stay the course. Stay grounded. And it's all going to work out. It's all going to work out. I promise. So that is the tarot spread for the month of June. Guides, do you have any other messages about this June energy before we move on to the numerology and astrology? The guides are saying that there are some archangels and ascended masters and like spiritual allies and guides that would love to work with you and support you this month. So if you're somebody that feels excited about that idea, or if maybe you'd already been thinking about it, and me saying that again here is like, whoa. It's kind of like a synchronicity right there. Work with some ascended masters, work with some angels. This can really be as simple as like at the beginning of your day saying, hey, you know, Archangel Metatron, can you please connect with me and help guide me through the energy of today? Please help give me messages and information. Please help give me healing. Please help give me signs. Please just help guide my energy to be of greatest service to all. Like, it can be something as easy as that, and insert any person it is, you know. Maybe it's Ascended Master Saint Germain. Maybe it's Lakshmi. Maybe it's Ascended Master Jesus. Like, there's so many different energies out there that feel like they want to support us. And if there's been one that you've been curious about, you know, connecting with, getting support from, invite them in. I will say, if you are going to be eliciting the help of other energies, it's really important to be grounded in your own. The most important channel of information about where you should be going and what you should be doing is always going to come from you and your higher self, always. And if you don't feel really grounded and rooted in that, it actually can make information that another being wants to bring through not really resonate as much, or it feel like you can't really action it, because their suggestion and their energy is always meant to supplement your own, not replace your own. So I would just keep that in mind. Make sure you are really connected with your own preferences, your own desires, your own instincts about what would work for you, what wouldn't work for you. Because again, even from these beings that are so wise and have done so much good in the world, their opinion is not more important than your gut instincts. It's not. If something doesn't feel right for you, even if you're perceiving a certain message from them that tells you otherwise, always go with what genuinely feels true for you. It doesn't mean that it won't challenge you. It doesn't mean it might not feel a little scary to you, but the most important element in connecting with other energies, again, is, are you being rooted in yourself? Are you running any information that you're getting past your own gut? That's really important. Guys, is there anything else that you want to say about that? Was there a certain ascended master or something that you wanted people to connect with? Oh, they're saying even spirit animals, getting a beaver, even a honeybee. Some of these animals that are notorious for really building out and being consistent and having that, again, that sort of divine masculine and emperor energy. There's a lot of animals that have different variations of that energy. So if maybe, connecting with an angel or ascended master doesn't feel like your vibe, but connecting with an animal master would, then you can do that as well. Okay, it feels like all the other information they want to bring through is going to be related to the numerology and the astrology for the month. So I'm going to take a quick break and then I'll come back to tell you all about it. Okay, I'm back. Let's talk about the numerology. As I said, every month, just in case we have anybody that's new or you need a little bit of a reminder, the collective year number. So the numerology for the whole year of 2024 for the whole collective is a number 8, which has to do with personal power, abundance, money, prosperity, and achievement. So that's the overarching theme for just the collective in general. Everybody has their own personal numbers too, which you can find out. I talked about in the yearly forecast if you want to learn how to calculate that for yourself. It's really interesting and really fun to look at. But the year for everybody, collective, this year is a year 8. Now, what's interesting to look at is the month, the energy of each month under the umbrella of that 8. The way we calculate that is by adding the number of the month to the number of the year and reducing down to a single digit. So the month of June, 6 plus 8, which again, we just said was the collective year number, that equals 14. 14 is a 2-digit number, so we reduce that down to a single digit by adding 1 and 4, which is a 5. So we are in a month 5 under a year 8. Here are some of the energies that are associated with the numerology of 5. Everything to do with your relationship to freedom, new experiences, change, travel, and your 5 senses. This is a really interesting number for me to talk about because my life path number is a 5. I was also born on a full moon. I feel like full moon energy definitely shares some similarities with the energy of a 5 because it's also halfway through the number cycle. So I have a lot of personal connection to this energy. So I'm going to explain to you how it feels like this energy is going to be showing up this month. And it also does feel like there's going to be some channeled messages on this. So when we are trying to understand a topic, especially if something like freedom, it definitely feels like it's part of the human experience to be able to experience opposites, us being in this binary experience, right? I can understand what pleasure is better because I've experienced pain, the contrast. I can appreciate love because I've also experienced loss and grief, right? It's sometimes the only way that we can really appreciate and truly understand something is to see and to know its opposite. And I share that to say that with the concept of something like freedom, a lot of times the journey we have to understand what freedom is actually by experiencing what we would call restriction or oppression or feeling limited, right? Those are things that we might consider the opposite of freedom. And what's so interesting is that actually those experiences are an illusion. I know that's crazy. Your ego mind might be like, no, what? Look at all these examples of how it's a real thing. Look, I get it, but stay with me for a second, okay? We are source, okay? And I'm not saying that in a spiritual bypass way. I promise I'm going to connect the dots here. We are source energy. in a human body. Source energy is unlimited. It's infinite. It's always expanding. It's limitless in its potential, its value, all the things. We actually have limitless power to create our experience and to generate our reality. It's just a lot of us are not awake to, aware of, or understand how to leverage that. But that does not change the fact that that is the power that we have within us. When we are experiencing something like limitation or restriction, really what that is that we're perceiving what's happening around us in a way that tells us, or where we believe that we are restricted or limited. When we are actually the ones that not only generate our reality, but have the ability to influence our reality, nothing can actually restrict us, because the power of our own state of being in our own mind allows us to shift what's going on around us. Like, that's what quantum physics is telling us, okay? So when we're trying to pursue a greater degree of feeling free, again, a lot of times we have to face the places where we are telling ourselves a story that we're restricted or that we're limited in some way. We have to understand, we have to investigate, where am I perceiving things? How am I perceiving them in a way that's telling me the story? What beliefs or maybe traumas or experiences are anchoring that feeling into me, and do I need to attend to, and do I need to heal and release and shift so that I can come back into contact with how much power I actually have, so I can start perceiving the world in that way from an authentic place, like where I really think that that's true, and then access more freedom again, because I'm not limiting my own experience of freedom by telling myself that I'm restricted or that I don't have power in certain places, right? This is a very deep concept. Okay. But our understanding of the freedom that we have in our own life via how we choose to perceive things and our choices and all of that kind of stuff, how we choose to feel about things, is one of the most important things that we can come to learn and understand in this incarnation coming around as humans. So again, when we're thinking about the ways that we are free and the ways that we want to be free, just in a natural part of that conversation is where we feel like we are not free. We got to go there. We got to investigate that, because that is not ultimately true. And we got to debunk that within ourselves in order to access more freedom. I will say that is why I love doing the trigger alchemy coaching. It's my favorite thing. I think one of the biggest ways, the biggest gifts to be able to access our subconscious that is creating these experiences and to create changes through our triggers. Our triggers are like a little lifeline into the part of our subconscious that's creating the most quote unquote limitation. Okay. So if you do have the interest or opportunity to do coaching work with me, I literally teach people how to do this. I literally teach them how to identify where the trigger is coming from, the energy and the feeling behind that, connect with the part of ourselves that's having that feeling, start to understand their story, understand their origin, the origin point of this whole thing, and how to receive, heal, and shift that energy, and how to move that, massage that, change that into a belief that feels more true and authentic, that is in line with our sense of power and freedom, so that we can actually move through our lives feeling more freedom, giving ourselves more freedom, and also, as a part of it, changing our external experience to be something that we actually want. You don't have to do this with me, but I really do recommend you having some sort of process, some sort of tools that you're using to be able to address the places where you do not yet feel free, because absolute freedom is your birthright. It's available to you. You just got to take it. Nobody's limiting you. Your own mind is creating an illusion of limitation. The energy of the 5 is offering us the kinds of experiences to understand them. Here's the other element of the 5 is that there is usually change associated with the 5, some sort of change and new experience. Again, think about sort of that full moon energy, like things come to a pinnacle culmination. You know, things maybe feel a little bit more intense or something as they shift and change and then integrate into it. With the numerology of 5, things like new opportunities and new experiences coming about, even like traveling to new places and experiencing like literally new cultures, new energy of land, like getting into new spaces, maybe trying out new interests, which again goes very much and connects with the Page of Wands energy that we had in the tarot spread, right? Like letting yourself try new things and letting that teach you something about yourself. Maybe that changes something about you, right? Like being kind of flexible and adaptable to where there's opportunities for something new and to where life is showing you that there needs to be some sort of change, or where change is just kind of happening and you just got to roll with the punches. Okay. That is the energy of a 5. It's a very like adaptable, flexible, mutable kind of energy. And that's a really important energy to be able to tap into. So let yourself have fun with it as much as you can. Let yourself come out of this month again feeling more empowered and more free and more lit up by all the new things that you're doing. And that is the energy of Numerology 5 for the month of June. Let's talk about the astrology, okay? Because the astrology of June is very interesting. Very interesting. So first I will say that we're going to be in Gemini season all the way until June 20th. So most of the month we're going to be in Gemini. Gemini is an air sign. It's very social. It's very curious. It's an air sign suit of the mind. So we're definitely in our mental fields and thinking about new ideas and making new connections. It's a little bit more of like a lively time as well. It is a literal mutable sign coming right off of the 5 energy, which is great. We had a lot of swords energy in the tarot pole, which again, synergy, synchronicity. A lot of things aligning and being very focused for this month in terms of the messages and the energy that is showing itself. Here are some of the noteworthy transits that are happening in June. So at the beginning of the month, we're going to have a lot of planets in Gemini, which very simply means, again, we're going to feel a lot of that Gemini energy that I just described. Okay. Like if you don't have a lot of Gemini energy in your chart, you're probably going to feel the most access to that energy and understand that energy the most during this first part of the month than you ever have before, because there's just a lot of planets who are offering us that energy in the sky right now. We're going to have Jupiter and Venus conjunct, like literally right in the early degrees of Gemini. They both move into Gemini around very similar times. So around like 0 to 2 degrees, both of them are going to be in Gemini. Jupiter is the planet of expansion and Venus is the planet of relationships and of pleasure and of creativity. So for both of those to come together means we're amplifying that Venus experience, and where we're experiencing amplification is probably going to be in the energy, like a very Venusian kind of energy. Okay. We are also going to have what feels like it's going to feel a little bit significant of a transit where we have Jupiter, the planet of expansion I just talked about, and Pluto, which is a very, very intense and powerful planet of evolution and transformation and death and rebirth, right? That's the Pluto energy. They're both going to make a trine towards each other on June 2nd. So again, right at the beginning of the month when we have a lot of this really potent energy in Gemini, they are going to make a trine to each other. Trines are when there's like a supportive energy, when they kind of amp each other up a little bit. Okay. So for two planets that have sort of like a big energetic footprint, I think it's really interesting to see what them having a trine in the sky is going to manifest as. I will say with planets that move as slowly as Pluto and even as Jupiter, it's not always like that specific day, but it's more like things that are happening around that time period. Now, Jupiter does move a little bit faster than Pluto. So I just wonder what's happening around that week, maybe around like the 10 and 14 days around that transit, because those are very noteworthy energies. So if things feel like, if that sense of like death and rebirth and evolution and that kind of like what can feel like a very intense energy of Pluto feels extra around that time, Jupiter's turning up the volume, and that makes a lot of sense. Okay. Then we're going to go into a new moon in Gemini on Thursday, June 6th at 8:37 a.m. Eastern Time at 16 degrees of Gemini. New moons are, again, great times for self-reflection, for intention setting, for really connecting the dots about what's important to you and what you want to focus on coming into the new lunar cycle. And by then, Mercury will have joined that group of planets that are all in Gemini. So it feels like there's going to be a lot of, to me, I get the sense that it's kind of relationship oriented because all the air signs are really social. And with Jupiter and Venus kind of having that moment and then Mercury coming into it, it just feels like there's going to be like new connections or maybe new ways of thinking about relationships. Maybe it could be about creativity for you, since that's also kind of like a Venusian area. Like what, like new ideas, new connections, again, what kind of like Gemini energy around those topics is happening for you at the beginning of the month? Or maybe some of the things that are feeling important to you that you might want to set your intention and focus on for the next month are going to be related to those things. There's an opportunity for like understanding them a new way, or even like, again, changing kind of how we're thinking and relating to things, which is all Gemini energy. That's one of the gifts of Gemini. So that is all going to be right at the start of the month. Around the 17th of June, some of those personal planets start to move into Cancer. So the energy changes from this very lively, social, changeable, curious energy of Gemini into the very sensitive and emotive and intuitive energy of Cancer. It's looking like both Venus and Mercury are moving into Cancer at the exact same time on Monday the 17th. And then the sun enters Cancer on Thursday, June 20th. So again, right as we get into like the last half of the month, past the halfway point, we're really going to start to feel that Cancerian energy. We're going to start to definitely get more into our fields and how we're taking care of and nurturing ourselves. It's got a very like maternal energy, Cancer does. So things are going to feel like they slow down and they just get a little deeper and more sensitive as we start to move towards the end of June. So the day after the sun moves into Cancer, we have the full moon in Capricorn. So on Friday, June 21st at 9:08 p.m. Eastern, first degree of Capricorn, we have the sun and the moon opposing each other in the sky and offering us a lot of insights about the archetypes and the axis of Cancer and Capricorn. Remember, full moons are a time of revelations and release, change, and the culmination of an intention. And what's so interesting, especially in the tarot cards that we pulled before and just the energy of all of it coming together, it's so perfect and I love it. I already talked about how Capricorn is the cup and Cancer is the water in the cup. I love when the season of Cancer comes and we get that full moon in Capricorn because we really get to evaluate how we're taking care of ourselves and how we're nourishing ourselves, especially emotionally and energetically, and the ways that we're balancing sort of that like divine feminine way of caring for ourselves, which is very soft and receptive and flowing and open and nurturing, and how we're taking care and nurturing ourselves with the divine masculine energy, which is structure and boundaries and support, which again translates to being dependable and trustworthy as well. They're two different kinds of trustworthy. They're two different ways of caring for yourself. They're two different ways of caring for other people as well, right? Because those aren't only having to do with us. That's just a good place to start, right? Like, again, Cancer being this very maternal and kind of mothering energy. Like, how do you nurture and care for people around you? How do you protect them and make them feel safe and create trust? Cancer is doing that emotionally, and Capricorn is doing that practically with it being an earth sign. Right? Capricorn ends up being the archetype that has to do with our service to the world and our legacy and our career. And that's another way of trying to be of service and care for the greater good, right? Cancer might do that maybe a little bit more in like a one-to-one or small groups. It could be in big groups too, but that emotional stuff tends to be, again, in a sense of greater like emotional intimacy. But how are you incorporating both ways that you can care for yourself and other people? How are you finding a balance between those two archetypes? Because they both have a role and they're both really important. So if you find yourself, maybe more easily being able to access one and not really being sure how to leverage the other, or feeling like you're in extremes, you're only ever one or the other instead of integrating both, I would really look into that. I would reflect on that. I would see what your life and how it's manifested around you is showing you about your own relationship to those things, even if you're not totally aware. So that is the energy for the month of June. Guides, do you have any final thoughts or messages for the podcast fam? It just feels like it's going to be a good start to the summer. It will be. Again, like, trust yourself in the growth that has happened so far and the foundations that you've laid down so that you can really go out there and start to thrive. Like, let yourself really like test it, like be vulnerable to go out there and try it in this summer time, like in this summer energy, like you're ready to kind of get out in the world and test the waters a little bit and have some fun. And it feels like June is the start of the energy to be able to do that, especially in Gemini season. You might again kind of catch yourself being a little bit more in your feels and like pull back for a minute. In Cancer season, a little bit, you're still going to want to be out there like connecting. So really enjoy the season, enjoy this energy for all of the things that it has to offer you. Thank you so much, guides. And thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Again, if there's parts of this episode that like super resonate for you, or you have really cool stories about how the last month resonated for you, please DM me about them. I love nerding out with everybody about the parts of the episode that they really enjoy, or like really cool synchronicities and stories. So please, by all means, at Healing with Beer on Instagram is probably one of the biggest places where people DM with me, but you can also find me on TikTok, or even email me or comment on YouTube, like whatever it is. I love hearing from you guys. I love connecting with you. So again, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this supports you going into June so that you can make the most of the month. And I will see you next week for more breakthroughs. Bye, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode and for tuning in to Breakthroughs with Bree. Please share your favorite episodes with your friends and loved ones, and please like, subscribe, and rate the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to it, as it helps me continue to create these episodes to help support your breakthroughs. I would love to stay connected with you, so please follow me on social media at Healing with Bree. Please check out my website at healingwithbree.net, which will always have the most up-to-date information about the services that I'm currently offering. And please consider using the link in the show descriptions to subscribe to my email list so you can be the first to hear about any offerings. You can get all of the free resources that I offer, as well as get my weekly channeled messages. My deepest love and gratitude to you, and I can't wait to have more breakthroughs with you next week.